Part 2 of the book. Your body as your own unique living sculpture. Your life as your most intimate work of art, and the nature of creativity as it applies to your personal experience. Chapter 10. The nature of spontaneous illumination and the nature of enforced illumination. The soul in chemical clothes. Now, the young man, an assistant to a famous doctor, wrote and requested a session. He came here a few evenings ago, and then attended Rupert's class the next night. I spoke to him on both occasions. He had been working with the drugs in a therapeutic framework for some time. Before this, he had wandered through India, finally following a guru. He left the guru to follow the doctor. Like many young men all through the ages, he was on his individual journey, looking for truth, overturning all stones in an effort to find those methods that would help him to discover the way. Meditation had brought him some enlightenment, yet the guru in India told him that he must follow blindly in obedience. The doctor offered greater freedom, and the hope that perhaps chemically the doors to truth, within his own soul at least, could be opened. So our searcher returned to this country and became part of a large organization. He saw the sick, unhappy, and neurotic brought to this new temple of truth in which chemicals take the place, say, of communion of bread. He felt that some good had been done, yet he also feared that some unnecessary and dangerous tampering might also be accomplished. He himself took drugs under controlled conditions several times, first small doses and then larger ones. He encountered some particularly frightening material. The doctor suggested that he face himself by taking another massive dose, and though he did not want to, he acquiesced. The experience was so shattering that he pleaded for a counter-drug, knowing as he did so that this was against all the rules. The drug was refused him in any case. He said that he was glad that he was forced to see the thing through, yet grave doubts brought him here, and will finally lead him into other areas away from such therapy. Many have come to me or written after quote-unquote bad trips, the young especially, always great searchers after truth, and very tempted to look to the chemical LSD now as the latest method of finding it. I am not speaking of marijuana at all, which is a different thing altogether and is a natural product of the earth. I am talking about a chemical that is a result of your technological knowledge. When you are fairly happy and content in your daily life, you can be said to be in a state of grace. On those occasions when you feel at one with the universe or come upon an exceptional experience in which you seem to go beyond yourself, you can be said to be in a state of illumination, and this has many degrees and levels. In any such state, your physical health benefits, generally speaking, though there may be some beliefs blocking in that direction. These natural states activate within your cells quote-unquote past memory, having to do with joyful cellular response, brought about by particular events in your lifetime, whether you are aware of them or not. This personal kind of cellular memory in turn triggers other layers within the cells to varying degrees. Again, each atom and molecule contains within it quote-unquote memory of its quote-unquote previous experiences. According to the state of illumination or grace, those mass memories may be activated that do not necessarily involve your personal experience, though your own involvement and the events of your life may appear within them in an entirely different framework than the one with which you are familiar. Any event of your life is written in the memory of the universe, for example, as you think of it. So, in a state of illumination, private cellular memory may be animated, and beyond this, a deeper level of knowing in which your own birth and death may or may not be explained. Naturally, left alone, you will at various times spontaneously experience such states of grace or illumination, though you may not use those terms. You will feel at peace with yourself and your world, or you will surpass yourself, suddenly feeling a part of events and phenomena usually considered not yourself. But to some extent or another, such experiences are natural and a part of your heritage. Your conscious mind, again, is a part of your inner self and ever-changing. In terms of species consciousness, it is a development of great significance. It draws strength from such sources of vitality and rejuvenation. They come naturally up to consciousness. Psychologists usually see people who are already in difficulty. The happy man has no need for such a visit. Few studies have been done to discover why the happy man is happy, yet his answers would be highly pertinent. In therapy, using massive doses of LSD, a condition of chemically enforced insanity takes place. By insanity, I mean a situation in which the conscious mind is forced into a state of powerlessness. There is a literal assault made upon not only the psyche, but upon the organizational framework that makes it possible for you to exist rationally in the world that you know. The ego, of course, cannot be annihilated in physical life. Kill one, and another will and must emerge from the inner self, which is its source. Now, under such enforced conditions, you are literally facing egotistical consciousness with its own death in an encounter that need not occur, and while the physical body is fighting for its own life and vitality. You are bringing about a dilemma of great proportions. The landscape of the psyche is indeed revealed, bringing good data to the psychiatrist. But the experiences undergone by the patients, and all of this applies to massive doses, represent the enactment through a terrible encounter of the species' birth into consciousness, and its death as consciousness falls back, annihilated, followed by its rebirth as the individual patient struggles to emerge again from dimensions not native under those conditions. The deepest biological and psychic structures are altered. I did not say that they were damaged, though they may be according to the situation. Consciousness is assaulted at its roots. When periods of transcendence are felt under such conditions, they represent the psychic birth of a new personality from the sources of the old, and from the death, psychically, of the old. In some cases, the genetic messages have changed, in that they are different. This is a psychic slaying in a technological framework. Under LSD, you were highly suggestible. You were told that the ego must die, then you must kill it. You will telepathically follow the ideas of your guide under even the best of conditions. The psychic quote-unquote rebirth may leave you with a completely new set of problems, rising on the bed of the old, and as yet undecipherable. The new ego is quite aware of the conditions of its birth. It knows it was born out of the death of its predecessor, and for all its feelings of transcendent joy, natural enough at its birth, it fears the annihilation from which it sprang. The natural creature integrity is not the same. The physical world will never be trusted in quite the same way. The alliance with it is not as secure. The quote-unquote self that was born into the body and grew with it has gone, and another quote-unquote self has risen from that previous organization. Now, such self-changes happen naturally as life progresses, and when the self modulates at any given time, it is different from what it was. When this occurs, quote-unquote, all by itself, it is an innate reflection of the psyche's creativity and happens with its own rhythm, connected to seasons of the mind and blood and consciousness and cells in ways that you do not as yet understand. But the whole structure and its subsidiary relationships change together, and the conscious mind is able to assimilate what is happening. You grow and live through deaths that happen to you constantly, and travel through births within your lifetime that you do not comprehend. Such massive doses of LSD chemically activate all levels of cellular memory to such an extent that in certain terms they are no longer in charge of themselves, and the memories can then emerge unpredictably when the system is under stress. The fine biological and psychological alliance is now weakened. Now, it is only because you believe that the ego is such a stepchild of the self that you go to such great lengths to bring about inner knowledge. It is just because individuals are not aware of the resiliency of their own consciousness that they agree to such proceedings. So patient and therapist share the belief that the conscious mind does not have easy access to the needed knowledge. They also share other beliefs, for example, that the inner self is a repository for repressed fears, terrors, and uncivilized savagery, that the inner self must be forced to get rid of such material before it is possible for it to express its power, energy, and strength in creative, positive terms, and that, therefore, the self must first encounter and deal with all those terrors of its past before it can be free of the fears of the present. Now, this is simply another system of belief in which patient and therapist operate. The spontaneity of such sessions do indeed seem to present psychiatrists and psychologists with a map of the psyche. Statistically, the individual experiences, while different, will of course follow a pattern, the pattern of beliefs consciously acknowledged and telepathically reacted to. Beneath this, a definite though distorted landscape of the psyche can be glimpsed in symbols. These symbols are consciousness's attempt to portray cellular memory. Psychic motion always excites the molecules. The latent, easily flowing, innate quote-unquote knowledge of the molecules builds up the quote-unquote knowledge of the cells. They work smoothly together. Under the enforced psychic assault of massive doses of LSD, the very comprehension of the molecules tries to split open. Now, this is not something you can physically perceive. Cellular integrity itself can be threatened. Rupert is quite right in thinking that this is far worse than any physical shock therapy. Worst of all, there is no need for it. All of this treatment rests upon the idea that the conscious mind is highly inadequate, that deep problems are unknown to it, that it is meant to be simply analytical and is unable to handle very intuitive or psychic material. Your beliefs alone make this so. Assaults upon your consciousness in such a manner challenge the stability of your species and insult the integrity of your creaturehood. You may say that such chemicals are natural because they exist within the reality that you know, but the body is equipped to deal with ingredients that come from the earth. Great doses of such quote-unquote artificial drugs are not easily assimilated and bring about biological confusion. Within their own framework, some American Indians use peyote in their own way, but not as gluttons, stunning and annihilating their systems. They accept it as a natural ingredient belonging to their earthly structure. They do not try to blast themselves out of existence. They use it to increase the innate perceptions that they have. They become part of all that is, as they should, without dying as they are. They are able to assimilate their knowledge, to purposefully direct it into both their individual lives and their social structure. They also use it within their own system of beliefs, of course, in which their creaturehood is understood and taken for granted. The conscious mind is seen as a complement rather than a detriment to biological being. As mentioned earlier, there are, simply speaking, two schools of thought in current favor. One believes that the conscious mind and the intellect have all the answers, but to this school this means that the conscious mind is analytical above all, and that it can find all the answers through reason alone. The other school believes that the answers are in feelings and emotion. Both are wrong. Intellect and feeling together make up your existence, but the fallacy is particularly in the belief that the aware mind must be analytical above all, as opposed to, for example, the understanding or assimilation of intuitive psychic knowledge. Neither school understands the flexibility and the possibilities that are inherent within the conscious mind, and mankind has barely begun to use its potentials.